Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday.
Good morning, John. Oh my God, what's going on with your voice?
No, nothing. We call this in my house the old man sweater. And I don't know, there's something that happens when I put on my old man sweater. I get cold, first of all. That's why I put it on. So it's one of those things. It's the old man sweater, but it's super cozy, super comfy. And given that we are like into winter now, actually today's not too bad. It's only 5 degrees. But yeah, I love, something happens when I put on my old man sweater. I kind
Well,
of
we
jump
were just
into.
we were just talking about priming, and the outfits we wear is also dictate how we feel, and that's why people
Mm,
say dress for success or dress for that job that you're looking for. Because if you put your sweatpants on and go do an interview, you might be a little bit too casual, or you might be a little bit too, like not professional, and you want to always dress for success. And I mean, working at home, I love that I get my fuzzy slippers on, but definitely make sure that we feel good in what we're wearing. And cozy sweaters are the best, John.
yes.
So wear the old man sweater and own it.
I am owning it. This is why we're talking about it, because I want to give everybody else permission to go wear their old man, old woman sweater. Be comfy in who you are and what you're doing this morning, and just where you're at, and just appreciating that. I think this is what has shown up is when you give yourself permission to do whatever it is you want to do, you give others permission to do what they need to do to be themselves. So if this is anything, go put on your old person sweater and just have fun with it. And don't worry about what other people think. But you're right. And I love the psychology around dressing for success. Dress the way you want to be seen, I think, is what shows up for me in terms of my mind. And it's a beautiful thing. Gunjan, good morning. Thank you and
Good morning.
welcome. He is, I'm going to call him our super fan. Do we have a super fan yet? But if we don't, if we were the Raptors, you'd be at the front row seat. So thank you for being here with us. You got the front row seat in your car as you're driving to your office, which is beautiful. So today, Heather, what are we talking about? The one thing that has been really amazing, you shared a really, really cool article with me called the 85% rule. And what I'd love you to do is just kind of talk about that with everybody here, and just, given what's going on with burnout and all those things, the 85% rule is a possible strategy to solve that issue.
Yeah,
So yeah.
is it, I'd love to share it, and I'll probably post it on my LinkedIn too, because I saw it on LinkedIn through somebody that I follow. And I think that's the best way to learn is not only to share it with others, but to talk about it with your friends, with your coworkers, and what does it mean for you. So here's it in a nutshell. The 85% rule is, we always say, oh, let's give it 100%, let's go 100%. But what actually happens when we physically go at something at 100%? That is when burnout can happen. And they actually studied athletes, and Carl Lewis was a runner, and this is the story that they're using to explain this. And he was known as a slow starter, but he was consistent, and he was always putting out the same amount of energy. And of course, he won tons of races, but he played at the 85% rule. So he didn't put 100% in his start. He didn't go for being the fastest out of the gate, but he never lost his energy along the way. So think about that, John. Like, how does that relate to our work lives, our balancing active family and our careers? And sometimes when we go all out, burnout happens, which we're hearing tons and tons and tons of that. So this 85% rule, I think, is really transferable to our everyday lives. Like, what do you see when you read it, John? What came up for you?
Yeah, no, I love the 85% rule. Number one, what showed up for me is, going 100%. Again, going back to the sweater, it's almost like you're not giving yourself permission and room to breathe, right?
Mm.
And what ends up happening is you're go, 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 go. And then you get to the end, it's like, why am I even here? Like, is this even worth what I'm, trying to accomplish and trying to do? So I'm giving it 100%, but at some point, what I've seen, or at least I've experienced, is I've lost sight of what it is I'm trying to do in the first place, because you're not taking any moments to reflect. And the
That's so
85,
true.
right? And the 85% rule gives you room. It's like, you know what? Maybe today is not a day I go do this. Maybe today I go do something else, right? Instead of making and driving, across the city to go get something, maybe save it for another time and I do something else that's going to be more beneficial for me.
You
That's
know
what
what
showed up for me. And one
I
more
love
thing,
that. Yeah, yeah, go,
I think
go.
I think about food too, right? And nutrition and what I'm putting into my body. 85% of the time, I want to put in the good stuff. But I want
Mm.
to give myself room for, like, the holidays are coming, right? So we know, listen, I got 2 events, one tonight, one tomorrow night, and there's going to be food and there's going to be things that, are outside of my, my normal diet and routine, but I'm giving myself permission for that 15%.
I love that. I love that because that is exactly what happens with diets, and people fall off their diets because they're trying to be at 100%, and then
Mm.
they have an event or they cheat or they call it cheating. But how about we just accept it as that is what we're going to do at 15% of the time.
Mm.
That's a great like life hack and diet hack, but I use the word diet meaning like what we're putting into our bodies, not that you're on a diet. And I think that distinction is really important. The other thing, John, that's coming up for me as you're saying all that is when I'm in flow, when I'm like playful and energetic and getting things done, I'm not thinking, oh my God, I have to put 100% into it. I'm just being and doing. And then this, really magical moment happens because it's like, wow, look at what I'm creating, or look at what ideas are coming down. And me and you, we send text messages all the time, late at night, during the day, whatever we're going to read it, to activate each other to say, oh, look at what I read or look what I learned. And I think that's another fun mechanism to not just absorb the information but share it with your network and with the people that you love so that everyone can learn together. I mean, it's why we do this show, so that we can all learn together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's really what puts us, like you said, into a state of flow. And the one thing, and I can't remember what the source of the research was, but the truth is we can only really pay attention like in spurts of half an hour to an hour maximum. Half an hour, 45 minutes, I think, is the most efficient amount of time to absorb. And then you take a quick 5-minute break, go do something playful, go for a walk, especially for those that are at home right now, right? We are, it's beautiful that we get to work remotely. It's beautiful that we get to work from home. But the one thing it also does, it also keeps us in our chair a lot longer, right? And giving yourself permission to move, to get out. Like, where my office is, I'm in the basement of my home. And when I feel like, it's time to move, it's time to, that 15%, my day is this and this is what I need to get done. But my 15% is, I want to go upstairs. I'm going to go play with my dogs for 10 minutes. Actually, I'm pretty much voluntold to go play with my dogs for 10 minutes. But can I tell you how great it feels to go upstairs for 10 minutes and do that and then come back and reset? And it creates and gives me space for creativity. It gives me space to just, really go back to focus. Right? Because we get so
Yes.
thrown off on the focus piece, right?
And we say, oh, I don't have time for that walk. On Monday, I did a brainstorm session with a really good friend of mine, Alan Smith. Shout out to you, Alan. The work we got done was magic. But we had created a whiteboard full of sticky notes, and this, we just did a brain map of all kinds of ideas. And then it was like, whoa, that's really overwhelming. And he said, okay, it's walk time. And we just put on all of our clothes and we walked, and we were running out of time. So I was even like in this, like, no, we got to get this done. We got to get this done. When we came back, I looked at the board and 3 ideas jumped out at me. Those ideas were all jumbled before we went for that walk. When I got back, 3 ideas jumped out at me, and it was, oh yeah, that's exactly what's got to get done next. And I hadn't had that clarity on what needed to get done next until that moment. 5-minute walk. John,
Yeah.
we're onto something. Like, this
Yeah,
is it.
yeah. Actually, it's funny because I used to do, when I was working in the corporate environment and, I was in the office, one of the things I would do is walking meetings. right? It's something I took
Mm.
away from Steve Jobs. I don't know where I read it. It was either in a book or somewhere. And, one of the things that he did to expand his creativity is he would take team members when he was doing one-on-ones and they would go for walks. And what that allowed him to do, it gave him space to get movement into his body. But the other piece was it gave them an opportunity to really focus on the conversation. How many times do we sit behind our screens and we don't really pay attention? Right? How many times, I think back to all the meetings that I've been in, right? Like, over the years, it felt like my only job was really to be in meetings all day long. That's pretty much what I did. And I'm sure it was the same for you.
Sure, many people can relate.
And a lot of times you walk away from those meetings saying, what did I get out of that? What was the purpose of that meeting? Because everybody's distracted with other things, right? Because they're going 100%. They're going 100%. We need to meet these, that we need to get this done. And it's like, I can't fully focus. The reason why you can't get to 100% is because you're not 100%. You're not even 85%. You're lucky if you're 50% at best.
Yeah.
Right. And you just get lost in here comes another message. Oh, there's a Slack. Oh, there's a, oh man, what's the Microsoft tool? I can't remember. Teams. That's it. I'm like, oh man.
Wow.
So funny. I used to live on
and
that
the pressure
Yeah.
that comes with that environment and those belief systems that are these collective belief systems that you think are the right answer, but they really are not. And if you're listening to this message today and your calendar looks a little bit crazy, here's my invitation to you, our invitation to you: cancel one of them. Cancel or move it. Cancel one meeting and take that walk. And it might feel luxurious or like permissions granted. Here's the permission you need. You can't afford not to do that. And there's a meeting that you can either delegate to someone or you can catch up later with someone for a 5-minute meeting instead of going to the half-hour meeting. But if you delegate and give that to someone else, then you're actually asking them to level up and possibly step into your shoes for a moment. So that's being a really, really good leader. And take that walk, go play with the puppy, do something that you normally would not give yourself permission to do, and just try it on. Now, if that's too tough and you're like, I can't do that today, look on your calendar, see if there's a meeting that you could actually walk and take at the same time. So there's an alternative for you in case you're like, Heather, that's crazy talk. I can't do it. With 24 hours notice, that's too short. There is a meeting in your calendar today that you can put your boots on and go for a walk, and maybe invite the person that you're meeting with to do the same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, 100%. I love that. It's wow. Yeah. The walking meeting, right? Like at the end of the day, most people, or at least what I've seen, when they're in these environments, they just turn off their cameras anyway. So you might as well go for a walk. Actually, like, why even hop on Teams or Slack? You might as well just make a phone call, right? Mm-hmm. Save yourself some data charges. And
although I do have some walking meetings that I do, and we go on video for the first moment, we show where we are, and then we both turn our videos off and walk the rest of the way. And that's always really fun. So, there is a chance to share your environment. But John, we've got a question there. So Gunjan's saying he really doesn't understand, how do I, what, I'll let you read it, or maybe we both read it together. Go
ahead. Not sure if I understand the 85% rule. However, I do get it's an objective to reduce burnout stress. I would like to add my perspective, which is different. Learn to do 110%. Love the work you do. Your actions should be your best. Allow yourself to be attached to the result. We'll avoid burnout 100%. And Gunjan, if that was true for a lot of people out there, 100%. And, like last night, I was in flow, right? Just to kind of give you guys an idea. Last night I was in flow, and I was in flow for like 3 to 4 hours, right? Like when you are loving what you're doing and when you're in it 100%, you can go at 100% because you're in that state of flow. But the truth is, and this is what I've seen, at least, even for myself in the past, giving it 100% just killed me because I wasn't doing the work I was passionate about. I wasn't passionate about what I was doing. I wasn't passionate about the clients I was serving, like the people I was serving inside the corporation. And that led me to a point where it's like, man, what ends up happening is the burnout is really, it's the opposite of healing inside of your body. And what ends up happening is you start to make your body sick because you're not in a place that's serving you in a really positive way.
Mm-hmm.
And, congratulations to you. And I love that you are doing the work that you're passionate about, that you're going 110%. Actually, can you go over? Yeah, I guess you could go 110%. But you're doing what you love. But the truth is, not everybody loves what they do.
John, I want to add some my perspective on that, in that the 110% is the output. It's what happens when at the end. But the 85% is the intensity with which you go after that. So it's not that we're saying work at 85% and screw around for 15%. We're saying the intensity is at 85% so that you are in flow. It is a relaxed state. You're breathing, taking in really deep breaths with the work that you're doing. You're having gratitude while you're doing it. Like, wow, this is great work that's getting produced. And you're spending those moments where when people are in the 100% realm, what's happening is they're taking short breaths. You're like, I got to get this done. I got to get this done. And they start this squirrel moment and they're kind of all over the place. And then your productivity and the output becomes, in the 60% range. So absolutely output at 110, do your best work. This is actually a life hack to get to your best work. It's relaxing. It's the intensity. It's going for the marathon, not for the sprint. And then, when you see that anxiety is sort of catching up, go for that quick walk, go for, do a quick 5-minute meditation, do something to get that flow back into state. So I think we're all aligned, Gunjan, yes, 110% on the output. That's actually what we're trying to say is to get there. It's not running as fast as you can. It's running the marathon and being ready with your energy for the whole realm. So
yeah.
Thank you for that question, because that distinction, it's hard to distinguish that we're not saying just do anything at 85%. We're saying get into the intensity or stop the intensity at 100 to get to an output that's the highest. That's fantastic.
Yeah, no, I love that. And thank you. It's, it's about output, not about effort. Right. And, a lot of, this is a beautiful conversation. Gunjan, thank you for adding that objective. Yes, let's avoid burnout, because nobody benefits from burnout. And especially going into this holiday season, that's what I'm reading a lot about. And that's what's showing up. And, burnout actually blocks people from being creative. It blocks people from coming up with new ideas and ways of doing work that serves them a lot better. So
John,
I love that.
I would love to share. Like I've experienced burnout. I've done it. And I can tell you every single time it's the same pattern that is in my mind. Oh, if I could only get this one more thing done. And, an 8-hour day turns into a 10-hour day, turns into a 14-hour day, turns into not enough sleep, turns into, waking up in the middle of the night, and then rinsing and repeating it and not doing anything differently, because there's just like, it feels so overwhelming. So this 85% rule, especially when it's the long haul, when the things that you need to get done are not going to be done in, one sitting or 1 hour, you've got to make sure that you've got your energy and you're not depleting your energy with negative thoughts about what's going to go wrong. So those two things are what happened to me. And I really thought if I just work longer hours, I'll get this done. And it didn't work out that way. I can guarantee you that. So what happened is my body said, oh, we're going to take a nap now, and, shut down. And I was susceptible to more, colds and flus and, anything that's going around. So that's actually what I invited in, not the other way around. I didn't invite productivity or flow. I invited sickness and tiredness and non-productive activities.
Yeah. So, no, absolutely. You start to weaken your immune system because you're not at your best, right? So very relevant point. And I can't believe we're already at time. Like, this is such a good topic. I feel like we could just go on and on talking about this. So there was the takeaway. So one of the takeaways today is find some space in your day to really, break away from the, if you were in flow, go with it. Don't break your flow. But if you feel like, like even holding it to not go to the bathroom because you want to get something done, go to the bathroom. Like just go do that. Don't sit there and say, I'll go to the bathroom in a few minutes, right? Take care of you. When you're at your best, when you feel at your best, that's when you show up at your best. So that's our invitation to you. Make some space in
I
your
have
calendar.
to jump in. John, you
Yeah.
said something that makes me laugh because in our corporate environment, we heard this all the time. Oh, I haven't even peed today. This is not a badge of honor, people. This is not a badge of honor. You need to take, that is a clear sign that the culture that you're in is not supportive of the things that are going to actually create the productivity you need. And you as a leader, not what your title is, but as a leader can take action and demonstrate what it looks like to actually be more productive. So take that walking meeting, invite people to join it with you, and tell us how it did. So
yeah, excellent. Okay, so we're at time. We're over time, but thank you, everybody. Thank you, Gunjan, Felicia. Thank you for dropping in. You put a comment in there, and Brian as well. He said, I'm so glad I joined this morning. Excellent. I'm so happy you were able to do that with us.
So am I.
So with that, we are going to wrap up today's session. Wishing everybody an awesome, wonderful Wednesday, and we'll be back on Friday. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.